of APIL, I want to convey our appreciation and thank you for Pew Environment Group for providing lunch for the legislatures to enjoy this afternoon. So on the agenda, as approved by the Board of Directors, we are now on item 10, and it's the APIL functions. And this is the time when we will be discussing the, if there needs to be discussion on this. The 33rd General Assembly venue, which we've agreed and approved in Hawaii during our last General Assembly, that it will be held in Majuro, Republic of the Marshall Islands. And I'd like to just share with you that the Speaker, Honorable Speaker Daniel Capelle, and myself, we are ready to welcome you. We are looking forward to the meeting of the APIL on Majuro. So, but before we go on with that, I'd like to see if I can have our Secretariat, Walton, if he can come and share with us, especially our new APIL members that might want to understand and know where we have been in the last couple of years back on the General Assembly venue, and from here on we'll continue on to the next agenda. So let me give this opportunity to our Secretariat, Walton, to give us a brief report on that.
Thank you, Vice President. Just to go back a few years, it's always in the history of APIL to rotate our General Assembly conferences and board meetings throughout the member islands. For the General Assembly, usually we decide during the board meeting prior. In the rotation is the Marshall Islands for this summer, and then from there we have American Samoa, and our brother from Chuk, they haven't been in the rotation for a while because of some infrastructure issues with their islands, but it seems like next year they'll be able to come back into the rotation. So these are the next two venues that we're looking at after Majuro. We've been to Kiribati and Palau. The two General Assemblies were before the before Hawaii last year. So that's where we're at now. And the smaller islands, smaller members, for an example like Yap and Koshai, usually we have them hold the board meetings because of accommodations purposes. I think Yap is ready for our General Assembly, so maybe the next GA.
Okay, let me, is there any question for Walton? Otherwise, I'll ask him to brief us also on the last part of the agenda today. Any questions to Walton? If there's none, then before we get into the proposed theme for Majuro's General Assembly, if I can also ask Walton, if you can also brief us on the activities like from 4 o'clock onward, and share with us in terms of Palau disaster relief and so forth onward until Saturday schedule.
Thank you, Vice President. As for today, I understand we'll get out pretty early. Probably have another 30 minutes to go. So you can go back to your hotels and relax for a little bit, and then meet back here at 4 o'clock. I suggest that if you still have your APIL shirts, the blue ones, wear them. And we'll meet up here, and then we'll walk over or drive over to right in the intersection at Bank of Hawaii, where we call it the Kapua Park. Yeah. We'll be having our wave or like a wave benefit, yeah, for Palau's disaster. The signs already been made, so once we're there, yeah, signs we'll be collecting. Each one will be given a little basket to stand by the road. Government Representative Quam did this a couple of weeks ago, I understand, and they were very successful in raising some funds for the Philippines disaster. So today, since Palau is here with APIL and our venue is here, the speaker, our president, wanted to do something for Palau and the opportune time for all of us to help out. So just meet back up here at 4 o'clock. And after this, our wave, fundraiser wave, we'll meet again back down at the Laddie of Freedom. It's the governor's complex, governor's office. There's a building in the back. If you see, it's a pretty big Laddie design. And that's where we're going to meet at 5:30
Okay.
for our evening function. And at the function, please bring your gifts. That's when we'll be giving out our gifts for the host member. So that should be it.
And then Saturday.
And Saturday, we'll meet up at 10 o'clock behind, I don't know if you know the APL office is located at the Carl Rose building, where they're doing the construction just up the street. On the left side, there's a 3-story building there. It's called Carl Rose. And in the behind, there's a lot of parking. It's right in the front of the beach. And we'll be doing our community service, picking up trash from the bridge side all the way to Alubang. That's from 10 o'clock. And we'll come back, meet up again at the same place, and then we'll have lunch, and that should be it for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Walton. I believe that is it from our side. Thank you, Walton. I want to thank Walton for doing all the logistics for us. Without this office's support, we will not be successful in our meetings. So I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the president and all of us to thank Walton. Okay, the venue has been decided. So we'll go to item number 11, which is the new business. During the General Assembly, 33rd General Assembly Conference in RMI, we have started to come up with what we have in front of us now as the Regional Transportation and Communication to be our agenda for the General Assembly in the RMI. So let me just open that up for discussion and for any views in terms of what we want to do and whether we want to adopt this, and or if we do, then give a suggestion as to who we should be inviting to join us in this effort. So let me now recognize Yap.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think a while ago during our session, there was a mention of the importance of global warming and climate change, especially if we're going to be meeting in Marshall Islands with all the island and people being affected by this phenomena. So I don't know how to word it, but maybe this theme, regional transportation and communication, should be worded so that it also takes in the global warming issue. I remember making a note that perhaps it's such an important issue that the Assembly should be considering issuing a joint communique on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Yap. It's still open for discussion. Let's hear all our views. And in terms of if we want to incorporate global warming, we can, although the theme is transportation and communications. During the presentations, we can have the experts there or whom we invite to also discuss the issue on presenting the issue on global warming. But go ahead, let me give this opportunity to our other colleague from YAP then.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the issue of communication, I understand that it's going to be picked up in the Marshall Islands during the General Assembly sometimes later. But currently, we see that the communication network from the Marshalls via Guam to the FSM in the form of fiber optic connectivity cables. That's already been established. There is discussions now on the connections from Palau, Guam, which also can connect to this cable, including Chuk and Kosrai. We're in discussion. And so the issue is currently being discussed. There's been some internal homework on the part of the FSM entity to work with on this, but I think I don't really know how to put this, but what I'm trying to get at is that the issue of communication is, I think, at a very critical stage right now within these following entities that I've just mentioned. And so it might help if we, as a group, APIL, of the region, try to emphasize that, the importance of that communication point at this time when the need is there for these entities to try to help bring the state of readiness to par with, I believe, some of the intent of the discussions along the lines of communications. That's going to be the theme in Marshall at some times later on. I'm just trying to bring this point up on communication to see if there's any way that perhaps, I know that this is an internal problem or situation that the given entities will have to deal with, but if there's perhaps some ways that this body can try to augment or support the theme on and the importance of communications with respect to the current situation within the given area mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to go ahead, Kiribat?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to talk about transportation because that's really affects us in Kiribati. So I'm just wondering if you can find other airlines that can present during the General Assembly meeting in Majuro, in which they can give us some perspectives and ideas whether or not they can service our islands. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Aside from Palau in the region and Guam and Saipan, and including American Samoa, we're pretty limited in terms of our line. Only United is servicing us. Aside from Kiribati, it's only Air Pacific and was Air Marshall at one time, but no longer. So this is a very important and relevant theme for us to discuss because it does affect all of us. And in terms of Palau and Yap with the fiber optic and connectivity, and also Koshai and Chuk, so that's why the theme was brought up for discussion. But yeah, we've already discussed some ideas, and perhaps we should also invite other airlines as suggested, Delta, which is already servicing Palau and here in Saipan, so it's something to discuss as well. But okay, let me give to Chuk first, and then I'll get back to Palau.
Thank you, Vice President. I think we've been talking a lot about this regional concept of health care to our island entities, and we need to continue that. We're already in the pipeline on that concept. So it's just another suggestion for a subtopic, or we need to address it there too. May not be as major as these ones, but I think it's very important that we continue that discussion. It's very important for our regional entities, the concept of a regional healthcare plan. Thank you, Vice President.
Okay, thank you. Let me give this time to Palau, and afterwards I'll give to Saipan. So Palau, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask if we could invite Jerry Perez, I believe he's from the Micronesia Cruise Association, to be a speaker at the General Assembly in RMI. I think we could really benefit from a presentation from them, especially in light of our discussions regarding ferry services and the resolutions that we've passed regarding that subject. Thank you.
Okay, I didn't quite hear clearly the names, but if you can repeat the names. Okay, and also provide for our secretariat, because he's gonna be drafting the letter for us, I believe, to invite the folks to come and join us in Majuro. So let me give this time to our speaker from Saipan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Whoever said that during the Board of Directors meetings where discussions are made about what the proposed theme would be for the General Assembly, that's correct. I'm kind of surprised that it was already in our agenda, but normally this is where we discuss what our priorities are. And also take into consideration where the General Assembly is going to be. In Hawaii, while we were in Hawaii for the General Assembly, there was the surge that happened in the Marshall Islands, I believe. And so, yes, global warming and climate change would be a relevant topic to be held for, in this case, the Marshall Islands, because the fact that it is a serious issue. I'm not going to try to change the topic. I know there's already been a recommendation for global warming, although I wonder if global warming and climate change are two different things, or they're one and the same. And so if that is going to be a topic, perhaps both. I know that my good friend Senator Cheng proposed resolutions to express our concern. Also, something that has to be taken into consideration is something that our good senator from Palau mentioned, and that is really, aside from just coming up with the themes, is to maybe go a step further and identify what exactly it is that we want to discuss or get presentations from regarding communications or regarding regional transportation. We've heard Chris from Digital Society talk about what his efforts have been over the years, and that is to support the development of the infrastructure. The first thing is the infrastructure in Micronesia, and we know that right now there's current efforts for Palawan Yap, perhaps, and I think it's an initiative that's really fallen on the executive branch, right, rather than the legislature. My understanding is also that there is collaboration with donor agencies or organizations, the World Bank or the Asian Development Bank. I totally support that, but perhaps we can clarify, should we be asking representatives from the executive branch to come and do a presentation to let us know where we're at, and perhaps then we can come up with some type of resolution for a course of action. How and who should we tap? Chris has already mentioned that in his communications with various organizations, that although we passed resolutions in the past supporting this digital or improving fiber optics in the Blue Continent, it did not reach some of the relevant organizations that can provide funding. Perhaps now's the time to maybe again revisit that issue and target the right organizations. And these are just kind of thoughts about or observations about refining what it is exactly we hope to get out of this theme. So that's it, just an observation, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Saipan. And let me just add a little to what our speaker has stated. During the General Assembly in Hawaii, in Honolulu, we have endorsed Majuro being the venue, and then we briefly discussed for Majuro theme would be transportation and communications, although we did not endorse it, and it was not an appropriate venue to endorse it at that time or meeting. But this is why it's on the agenda as proposed, so for us to discuss, and the climate change is also suggesting as global warming also. And I'd like to also share with us, in September, all the Pacific region were in the Marshall Islands, the presidents, heads of states, and you name it, all the experts in the world coming from Europe, state, and everywhere came in. We did hold a conference there on climate change. But if we want to get into it as well, it's up for us to discuss here. But at the same time, the proposed theme is transportation and communication. But it'll be up to us to decide in the board of directors. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one small thing I forgot to mention. If we are going to have it in Majuro, and because of the issue of global warming and climate change, I ask that you please schedule it during low tide. So.
Thank you. Then normally the king tide comes in February, so don't worry. If we're there in July, we're still okay. So let me recognize Palau again.
Just following up from what the speaker has said about this collaboration between Palau and YAP. Yes, it's driven by the executive branch, so I don't have too much information. But I forgot to ask Chris, I see him in the back, maybe he can come and talk a little bit about it, about a technology called O3B. That's what we signed up on, and it should be in place in February of next year. And it's a satellite because we're still working towards fiber optic, but for now, in order to make it run faster, it's an O3B technology. Maybe Senator Jesse knows something about it. Cook Island is hooked up to it now, and it's just a satellite, but I understand that it'll improve our communications, telecommunications in a much faster way. Can you comment?
Go ahead.
I can make a little comment that I'm not an expert in this area, but I would be paraphrasing other people who have talked to us about this, because concurrently the discussion on fiber optic connectivity has been going on and being very attractive. And it's been fiber optic has been on the table for probably the last 2 decades, and now becoming real possible with the assistance of the World Bank. And there's efforts of other people, there's schools of thoughts, others who think we have a small market and perhaps the best thing is to protect our own telecommunication organization, which is currently government. And then this O3B came about, and some of them are saying that it's sort of an interim waiting for the real up-to-date state-of-the-art communication that is supposed to be provided by fiber optic. O3B, as we're told, it stands for the other 3 billion people in the world who are not in the mainstream for fiber optic telecommunication. And these are landlocked countries in Africa, and in Asia. And so when they were talking about that, we were saying that we are not landlocked, and we are just about get connected to the most modern broadband, fast, reliable communication. And so that's when they said, well, it's for interim, so that we can increase the speed of. And then other people said, well, O3B is still in the research stage or testing stage. And so that's the story we hear. It is low orbit satellite, but we, some of those of us who are in support of the fiber optic think that we must not lose the opportunity by believing that O3B can provide the long-term durable assistance to service to us. And so, because we're in a predicament as well as we're in the possibility of getting it once in a lifetime kind of choice, if we lose the opportunity, I don't think we can ever get any opportunity to be connected to the fiber optic. So that's what I can say on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Is there any other show of hand? Okay, let me give this time to Koshai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if they're going to send me again to Metro for the General Assembly. So in case I get left behind, I just want to make sure that inter-island shipping is included in the discussion in the marshals. I'm saying this so we can send you to Koshai there to fit you while you guys are over there in Metro. Thank you.
Thank you. I kind of briefly discussed some of that during the break with one of your colleagues too. So I believe Palau is wanting to say something again. Go ahead. Or somebody else? Does somebody else raise their hand? Okay, if there's no further discussion on this, the theme, so do I have a motion to accept the theme as proposed for RMI 33 General Assembly? Okay, it's been seconded. Everyone say aye if that's the decision. Any no? Okay, then we will be having our 33rd General Assembly meeting in Majuro, and the theme will be regional transportation and communications. And we'll work with the Office of the Secretariat to see the relevant and people that needs to be invited to our meeting. So to discuss further. Okay. On the agenda now we're actually finished with the agenda. But let me just give back to Yap. I think Yap has got something to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm just curious because we discussed earlier, and I want to thank the speaker from our sister Commonwealth of the Marianas Islands for also touching base on this issue. And also you mentioned earlier that there was a recent meeting consisting of the representatives, high official representative from the region in Marshall with regards to global warming. And I'm just wondering at this point if you could share with us perhaps maybe some of the recommendations or some information stemming out from those from that gathering on account of what I think the issue of global warming and high sea level rise is an issue that the entities within the Pacific region need to take seriously into account because if the trend is not addressed and dealt with properly, I think some of the people who stand to get the most affect from this are the people within the Pacific region. So I'm just curious at this point if there's some available information that perhaps, or some uh, cooperative efforts or some recommendations that came out from the regional gathering that you referenced earlier, that perhaps you can share with the body. United we stand, divided we fall. However we meet and discuss the issues, if we're speaking the same language and going the same direction, I think we'll prove to be stronger than just spreading around and going at an issue on a different angles and different directions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yap. And I don't think it will hurt anything if we put aside one of those sessions in Majuro just for that purpose, and we can have those experts back home to provide documents that we might want to look at, and also share with us, make a presentation for us back in Majuro. So we'll work with that, with the Secretary's office on that particular request. We are coming to an end of let me give this time to our colleague from Point Bay as well. Scallion, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we conclude our meeting today, I just wanted to share maybe good news to all of us. As you remember, the first day we reported our financial status and all that, and I was telling you that we are $8,000 rich as of that particular day. Today, we are much richer. Our total income is now stand at 53,000 in 3 days' time. Our total receivables on the first day was 110,000. Now our total receivables stands at as of this reporting, 45 or 65,000. So that's better. Thank you, and we're still asking those who have not contributed. When we get to Majuro, we'll give you a total report. All the year. Thank you.
Take this opportunity. It looks like Palau, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we are coming to the end of the meeting, I just wish to take this opportunity on behalf of my fellow fellow director from Palau, Delegate Gibbons Jr., and also our other delegate from Palau, Delegate Ngamayas, who was able to accompany us here, to thank you, the officers, and all directors. Being new members of APIL, we are very much appreciative of your guidance and also your concerns and your deep expression of compassion for the people of Palau through resolution number 54 BOD 05. And I thank you for your patience as we are learning on as members of this very august body. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let me, looks like Point of Bay is wanting to say something also. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Along with what Palau has said, I also like on behalf of what they say, delegation, fellow directors, Philip, I also wanted to thank you for your leadership, and also express our appreciation and thank the leadership of Guam, the people of Guam, and of course our sponsor, the native sponsor for our PDP very successful at this moment. We are about to conclude our session, Mr. President. Our final words of farewell is our wish of joyful Merry Christmas and prosperous New Year 2014, and happy Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. I want to, this has been a very successful Board of Directors meeting. Um, And I want to thank, on behalf of the President, who will be returning this evening, and the fellow officers here, thank you all for participating. And we want to recognize Guam Legislature and under the able leadership of our President and Speaker Juan Pat and the members of the Guam delegation, like to share our appreciation for their hosting us. So can we give them a good round of applause? And also for our sponsors and for everyone that were involved in making this Board of Directors a successful meeting. And also special recognition to our Secretariat, Walton, for all his effort, and the staff that worked with him. So let's give them all a round of applause. Okay, is there a motion to then adjourn our meeting? Before we entertain the motion, go ahead, Yap.
Thank you very much. I just want to align ourselves with our thoughts with those expressed by Ponape and you as well, and especially our thoughts and gratitude to the delegation from Guam, the Speaker, our President, and our Secretariat for their quick decision to save the day for us, and we look forward to next year in the Stormani Island. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'd also like to thank our presenter as well. So they always stood with us when we call upon them to come and make presentation. They readily are available to assist us. So we want to thank them all also. Let's give them a round of applause as well. And it looks like we have another one, and I think maybe this will be the last one. So Saipan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just so that we don't miss anyone, I join all my colleagues in thanking everybody that has been thanked already, but also to our partners, our sister organizations, Digital Society, who twice a year joins us at his own expense. Also thank them for coming and sharing with us and their efforts to build a better Micronesia for us. We thank them also. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, those who say aye for adjournment, say aye. Aye. So then we are adjourned.